He wasn't the best student. He failed exams, yet he became the mind that changed our universe. Albert Einstein. He challenged his teachers, ignored rules, and dreamed bigger than his time allowed. Then came his miracle year, 4 papers that shook physics to its core. He bent space, stretched time, and showed us that light itself has limits. He gave us nuclear power and feared the weapon it became. Genius and conscience in one man. Albert Einstein was born on March 14, 1879, in Ulm, Germany. His birth was ordinary, but his childhood was not. He spoke late, so late that his parents worried something was wrong. When he finally spoke, he often repeated his sentences to himself, as if testing the words. Teachers found him odd, slow, distracted. One even said, "He will never amount to anything." At the age of 5, his father showed him a simple compass. Albert was mesmerized. No matter how he turned it, the needle always pointed north. Invisible forces, unseen laws, something deeper governed the world. Still, Einstein struggled in traditional schools. He hated rote memorization. He argued with teachers. He preferred to learn by asking questions. Too many questions. By the time he was a teenager, he was restless, impatient, even rebellious. The boy who seemed slow was not slow at all. He was simply thinking on a different frequency. Einstein's family moved to Switzerland, where he continued his education. There he found more freedom, but still clashed with authority. At the Zurich Polytechnic, he studied physics, but his professors were unimpressed. He skipped lectures, preferring to study on his own. When Einstein graduated in 1900, he was unemployed. The brilliant young man, full of ideas, could not find a teaching position. Finally, in 1902, he secured a job at the Swiss Patent Office in Bern. His task? Reviewing inventions. A dull job, perhaps, but in reality, it was the perfect training ground. Day after day, Einstein analyzed designs, imagining how machines worked, how forces interacted. While the world saw a failed academic, he was quietly preparing to revolutionize physics. 1905. The year Einstein was 26. Working in the patent office by day, scribbling equations at night, he unleashed a storm of ideas that would change everything. In a single year, he published 4 papers, each groundbreaking, on light, on atoms, on relativity, and one tiny equation, E equals mc squared. Energy equals mass times the speed of light, squared. The universe had given up one of its deepest secrets. Think about it. A clerk in a patent office, unknown, uncelebrated, just redefined reality. That year is remembered as Einstein's annus mirabilis, his miracle year. At first, few noticed. His papers were dense, technical, radical. But slowly the scientific world realized what had happened. By 1909, he was offered a professorship. By 1911, he was one of Europe's leading physicists. In 1915, he presented his greatest triumph, the general theory of relativity. Gravity, he argued, was not a force, but the warping of space and time. In 1919, during a solar eclipse, astronomers confirmed it. Headlines declared, "Newton overthrown." Overnight, Einstein became a global celebrity. A man once rejected for jobs was now the face of genius itself. By the 1920s, Albert Einstein was more than a physicist. He was a cultural icon. Newspapers printed his face. Crowds gathered when he lectured. His wild hair, his deep eyes, his absent-minded manner, he looked every bit the genius. But fame came with pressure. Everyone wanted a piece of him, students, journalists, politicians. He once joked, "To punish me for my contempt for authority, fate made me an authority myself." In 1921, Einstein received the Nobel Prize in Physics. But not for relativity, for the photoelectric effect, paving the way for modern electronics. Yet even with global fame, Einstein remained humble. He walked to work with his violin under his arm, more interested in ideas than accolades. The 1920s and 30s were not just years of discovery. They were years of danger. Einstein, a Jew in Germany, watched with horror as the Nazi movement grew. He condemned nationalism and militarism. This made him a target. His books were burned. His name appeared on Nazi hit lists. In 1933, when Hitler seized power, Einstein was abroad. He never returned to Germany. Instead, he accepted a post at Princeton University. It was a painful exile. He loved German culture, Goethe, Beethoven, but he knew to survive, he had to leave. The man who bent time itself was now displaced by the tides of history. Einstein was a pacifist. He hated war. But in 1939, as Hitler threatened the world, Einstein made a decision that would haunt him. Together with physicist Leo Szilard, he signed a letter to Roosevelt warning Germany might build an atomic bomb. Einstein himself did not work on the bomb, but when Hiroshima and Nagasaki were destroyed in 1945, he felt deep regret. He later said, "If I had known Germany would not succeed, I would never have lifted a finger." From then on, Einstein devoted himself to peace, warning humanity of the dangers of its own genius. Einstein was not only a scientist, he was a philosopher. He questioned the very nature of reality itself. He challenged quantum mechanics, saying, "God does not play dice with the universe." Others, like Niels Bohr, argued uncertainty was part of reality. Their debates became legendary. Even when proven wrong, Einstein pushed science forward. His relentless questioning inspired generations. The greatest genius of the century was not afraid to doubt, even to doubt himself. In Princeton, Einstein lived a simple life. He wore no socks, often forgot to comb his hair, and walked the streets like an ordinary man. Neighbors saw him riding his bicycle. Children saw him feeding swans at the lake. Despite fame, he valued kindness over intellect. He answered letters from children, encouraged young scientists. He also spoke out against racism in America, calling it the worst disease of the country. Einstein believed knowledge must serve compassion. Science was meaningless without humanity. By the 1940s and 50s, Einstein was no longer just a scientist. He was a symbol. His name had become a synonym for brilliance. But he lived modestly in a small house near Princeton, with papers stacked high on his desk and his violin nearby. He loved sailing, though he could not swim, and often capsized. He laughed it off, saying, "A ship is always safe at shore, but that is not what it is built for." Even as his health declined, Einstein worked on his dream, the unified field theory. He never solved it, but never stopped trying. The man who bent the universe spent his final years still chasing mysteries, refusing to accept limits. On April 17, 1955, Einstein felt chest pains. Doctors discovered an aortic aneurysm. Surgery was possible, but he refused. He said, "It is tasteless to prolong life artificially. I have done my share. It is time to go. I will do it elegantly." On April 18, 1955, at the age of 76, Albert Einstein died quietly in Princeton Hospital. A doctor removed Einstein's brain, hoping to study the source of his genius. Fragments were kept in jars for decades. As news spread, the world mourned. Flags lowered, tributes poured in. The man once rejected for jobs had changed the world forever. Einstein's legacy is not just relativity or E equals mc squared. It is the courage to question, the refusal to accept the obvious. He showed us time is not fixed. Space bends. Light is both wave and particle. He opened doors to black holes, GPS, nuclear energy. Beyond equations, he gave wisdom. Imagination matters more than knowledge. Curiosity should never die. Einstein's true genius was not having all the answers, but never stopping to ask questions. Einstein began life as a quiet boy, dismissed as slow. Yet he changed the universe. One mind, armed with curiosity, can transform history. So I ask you, what questions are you too afraid to ask? What ideas are you holding back because others might laugh? Einstein's story is not just history. It is an invitation to dream, to question, to imagine more. If this story inspired you, hit like, share it, and subscribe for more deep dive histories of the minds that shaped our world.